thing that you want to start doing is practicing out loud, answering the questions that they're going to ask. If you did the research and got the Gouge information and found out the types of questions they're going to ask, what I do is I write down all the questions that I got from the Gouge, HR questions that they're going to be asking. I write all those questions down, then I formulate my own answers. And sometimes it takes me a couple days and I just, I'm thinking about that question, and then I think of the answer that I want or the story that I want that will go to that, and I'll write that down and I just do it on my computer.
Okay, very, very interesting. So what he means by the Gouge, again, if you're European, it might not be so obvious to understand, is he's collected information from previous pilots who've been to this interview or information he could gather on various forums, and he knows what questions get commonly asked at this airline. And so he will then spend 1 or 2 days to collect his thoughts and see how he would answer. And he explains elsewhere that he will use examples, real-life examples of something that happened, how he reacted, how he resolved this situation, and what his experience was with that. And this is very convincing. Examples work very well for recruiters. This is something that we explain in our courses in detail. I like the way that he will later explain that he repeats it as though he was chair flying. Chair flying is basically being in a chair, closing your eyes and imagining yourself touching the buttons of the cockpit when you revise for your simulator session, for instance. I like the way that he prepares. What I would tend to say is don't limit yourself to just the questions that this airline is going to ask, because what they ask to someone before you might not be the same thing that they are going to ask you. There are many recruiters in an airline, especially a larger airline, and you may not have the same recruiter as your colleague had. And in fact, in recruitment departments, there are some questions they all like to ask because they speak together and they share the same techniques for interviewing, but every recruiter's got their own personality. Also, there are some changes that can happen, and they will happen at a time that you cannot plan for, and so something else could be asked to you, and you cannot be taken aback if it just falls out of the frame that you've prepared for, which is why we recommend that you understand recruiters deeply and understand the exercise that they are achieving at any airline, because it's always the same thing. They want sound behaviors from a pilot. And if you understand what they're achieving, whatever the airline, then it's very easy for you to be able to adjust whatever airline interview you're going to go for. But I really like the way that he's preparing here.